Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for Spider-Man Homecoming. And I overall really enjoyed this movie. I think that Tom Holland is my favorite Spider-Man so far because he just captures Peter Parker at this age and also being Spider-Man and being witty and just funny and really doing it justice. Now granted, I still like some of the stuff that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield did, but I just overall think this movie did the best job so far of showcasing Peter Parker. So, the movie starts off and we see the fallout of the Battle of New York from the Avengers movie, the first one. And this guy Toomes has gotten together a crew and they're salvaging stuff from the Chitauri. And of course, this damage control group from the government tells them to stop and to get out. And of course, Toomes is pissed off because he's spent a lot of money to get people, equipment to do all this stuff. So, him and his group go off, and they still have some salvage, and like, let's keep it and mess with it. And of course, it's like, okay, well, let's see what's going on with this. And then the movie goes into this part where it's connecting Peter with Captain America Civil War and showing his video recordings from his cell phone of everything going on and just getting into his head, seeing him using this new suit and all that stuff. It was really pretty cool. And sets up the whole relationship between him and Happy Hogan, of Happy being the reluctant handler of this energetic 15-year-old superhero who wants to do good. And, of course, we see that it then goes kind of interestingly into his high school life. So we just see that, like, Tony Stark told him, you know what, you're not ready to be an Avenger yet. Just keep yourself on the ground and just, we'll call you for when the next big thing happens. Gives him his high-tech Stark suit and lets him on his way. So, of course, we see him going through school, doing the usual school stuff, being Spider-Man, like getting a bike back from someone who had stolen it, helping an old lady, getting a churro, and trying to help, stop a dude from stealing a car, but come to find out it's his car. And then he's, like, having this conversation with everybody involved, and that's where the Stan Lee cameo hops up, and it's like, okay, that was pretty good. So, of course, this leads him to finding this group of people who are trying to steal from an ATM, but they're using hyper-advanced weaponry. And it's like, oh, you guys aren't the Avengers because they're wearing Avengers masks. And, of course, he starts fighting them. We get a pretty cool fight scene, but it shows his inexperience because he doesn't get the tech down quite as fast as he should, leading to an energy explosion that takes out this one sandwich shop that he frequents, and he goes in, saves the dude and the cat, and is like, oh, that was kind of close. So he comes back home, gets into his room, and come to find out his friend Ned's there, and he's like, well, he was going to help him with building a Death Star, but of the Stark internship, which is what he refers to as being Spider-Man, was getting in the way. He's like, you're Spider-Man, and he's like, wants to help him and everything, and he's like, you gotta keep this a secret, dude. It's like, okay, alright. So, they're going through and doing their stuff, and it's like, okay, looks like we're going to have to see where this is going to go. So, we're having them going through, doing this stuff. We see him at a gym where the coach has to show this video of Captain America, and he's like, I don't know, it's against the law to not show it, but he's also a terrorist, so whatever. So they're doing it, and they overhear that Liz, the girl that Peter likes, is into Spider-Man. And of course, Ned blurts out, Peter knows Spider-Man, and it's like, dude, what are you talking about? And it's like, okay, well, she's having a party. We'll go. And of course, Aunt May drops him off, and Ned's like, oh, come on. You'll do this. We'll be fine. You come in swinging as Spider-Man. We'll be good. It's like, all right, whatever. So he's getting ready to do that, and you see this energy thing go off in the distance. Goes to investigate. It's some of Toomes' crew. And they're, showing off this high-tech weaponry to this guy, and he's like, listen, I just want something to stick someone up with. I don't want to level a building or anything. It's like, oh, don't worry. And then Peter's phone goes off because Ned's trying to call him, and he's like, okay, hey, just aim at me, shoot at me. And, of course, starts a chase as Peter's going after him, and, of course, one of the weapons is thrown off as the chase is ensuing, and then Peter gets grabbed by Toomes in his Vulture outfit, and they did a real good job with the Vulture outfit, making it, Chitauri powered and kind of just looks like it could go in the real world versus kind of the stuff that you'd see in the comic books, still using pretty cool kind of weapons into it with the feathers and all that, and just being able to go really high. And it's more of a maneuverability kind of thing that you can use to augment your combat more so than him using gadgets for it. It still worked pretty well. So, of course, he takes Peter all the way up, and Peter's suit has a parachute in it, and that goes off and pretty much almost drowns him. Of course, we find out that Tony has a tracker in it, and he comes in and saves him, even though Tony's not in the suit, and just tells him to stick to the ground. So, of course, Peter's trying to go back to the party, finds a weapon, and takes it, and him and Ned are trying to figure out what's going on with it at school the next day. Pull out the power switch, like, this thing's kind of unstable, so we'll have to see what's going on. And, of course, he gives it to Ned to kind of hold on to. So, then they're going through school, and they see that a couple of Toombs' people, this guy that's now going to be the Shocker, because previously we've seen that Toombs accidentally killed the other guy, are going through, and Peter's able to put a tracker on him. So, of course, he's trying to figure out where they're at, and we find out that they're in Maryland. And, of course, the decathlon, the academic decathlon that Peter was a part of, is going to D.C. for a tournament and all that stuff. So he's like, okay, I'll tag along. So they go down there, and Peter and Ned are able to disable the tracker in Peter's suit and take off the training wheels program. And that was kind of funny because he's like trying to track the guys, goes to him, and is having problems with his suit because the AI is trying to do all these presets and everything. Like, hey, congratulations on completing your training and all that. And he's like, oh god, oh god, oh god. And he's able to stick with it long enough to get into the damage control convoy that Toombs is trying to get into. And he stops him, but gets locked in one of the containers and locked in a vault. Come to find out, he starts thinking more about the whole Chitauri thing and figuring out that it is unstable, and gets out of the vault by hacking it and everything and help with his AI, and gets to the Washington Monument as shit starts going down because the Chitauri power source had ruptured and would almost killed all of his classmates. But granted, he's able to get in there in time and save everybody, and of course get severely injured, because this is Spider-Man we're talking about. He's able to usually do stuff, but it usually comes at a cost. So, of course, they get back to New York, trying to figure out what's going on, and, of course, Peter goes to the one criminal that was trying to buy weapons and is able to find out where Toombs is going to be. And he gets this Staten Island ferry, and we find out that we have Toombs and his Shocker dude meeting with Mac Garn, who is the Scorpion. And he's not the Scorpion yet, but it's like setting that up. We see the Scorpion tattoo on him, and it's like, alright, we'll see how this is going. So, of course, Peter shows up and is like, hey guys, trying to stop him, and we find out that, like, the FBI's there as well, because evidently Tony and Happy had been listening to him, but everything goes to shit, and the ferry gets cut in half pretty much by Toombs and all that, and, of course, Peter now knows his identity more, and, of course, Toombs is more like, this has to stop, because every time he's trying to make deals and everything, he is getting screwed. And, of course, Peter tries to keep the ferry together and everything, but is unsuccessful, and Tony shows up and pretty much saves the day. And then he's pissed off at him for getting this kind of situation together, and he's like, that's it, you're out, no more, give me back the suit. And he's like, I'm nothing without the suit, then you don't deserve it. And it's interesting seeing Tony trying to mentor Peter Parker, because Tony doesn't want Peter to make the same mistakes he does. Now, granted, he shows that in, of course, his own Tony way, and he's already like 10 steps ahead, usually, when he's thinking or talking to someone, so it's kind of difficult for people to get into where Tony's at that moment. And it was kind of cool to see him kind of like be the stern kind of parent to a degree, because Peter looks up to Tony as kind of like a father figure because of everything he's done for him. And he's like, oh, God. So he just kind of keeps his nose down and is kind of like depressed and kind of just going about his normal life and everything. He does get detention at one point because we see another Captain video and all that. And, of course, Aunt May's trying to like figure out what's going on with that. But he then asks Liz out to the homecoming dance. And she's like, yes, all right. And he's like, cool. And seeing him kind of get prepared with Aunt May with like a suit and everything and dancing, and it was really kind of cool and really reminiscent of like a John Hughes kind of stuff, like Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller kind of stuff, because they really nail that high school stuff. So, of course, he goes to pick up Liz, and who's at the door? Toombs. You find out that Toombs is Liz's father. And it's like, oh crap. And you know how usually you're going to pick up a date and you're like always afraid of the father, like if you hurt my daughter, I'm going to kill you. Well, this dude dresses up like a vulture. And Peter knows it. He's like, oh shit. And this is interesting because they're going off, they're driving there, and of course Toomes is able to put two and two together and figures out that Peter's Spider-Man. So of course Liz goes in, and Peter's in the car talking to him, and he's like, listen, you just forget everything. Stop interfering in my business. We're okay. Otherwise, I'm going to kill you and everyone you love. Now go in and show my daughter a good time, but not too good of a time. So, of course, Peter goes in and says sorry to Liz and gets on his old kind of hoodie and web shooters and tries to run out and stop Toomes because Toomes has said yes to having his suit upgraded to go for the big score. We find out that the big score is that Tony has sold the Avengers Tower and is taking all this stuff upstate since it has been repaired since Civil War, and that includes like Hulkbuster stuff, everything like that. Of course, Peter tries to get there but has to fight the Shocker, and he almost gets like beaten, but of course Ned helps him a little bit, and they're able to get on out of there. Peter to go, Ned to be the guy in the chair. And of course he's trying to get a hold of Happy and is not able to, and Peter then goes and confronts Toomes. He's trying to stop him from getting all the stuff, and a pretty cool fight ensues in that they're trying to figure out how to stop everything that's going on with the plane. Toomes gets in, uses some cool tech. He's like, yes, reactors, Chitauri weapons. This is what we need. And then, of course, Peter kind of screws up his one thing, his suit apparatus, because he had used it to hug itself to the plane and then create one of the doorways that he'd used to get into the containers previously. So then Peter's kind of like mucking around everywhere, and Toomes tries to fight him, and they pretty much get the plane in a condition that it's starting to crash. And Happy sees this and is like, oh shit, but Peter's able to swing it to the beach. And of course there's minimal damage, but it crashes, Toomes kind of screwed up, Peter's kind of screwed up, and it's like, oh god. And of course, Toomes is still trying to fly away, but his stuff's busted up. His Chitauri tech is about ready to explode, and Peter's trying to stop him. He's like, I'm trying to save you. And, of course, it blows up, but Peter runs in and saves Toomes anyway. And he's able to get all the stuff together, webs up Toomes, and leaves a note saying that it was him and all that, and it was really kind of cool. And a really important part that happened when he was confronting Toomes to begin with, before Toomes got off to go into taking down the airplane, was that he pretty much did a really cool scene where, yeah, it looked like Toomes was monologuing, but he was actually bringing down the complex on Peter, and Peter was like deathly afraid. I'm like, Tom Holland did a great job with that scene, and that he showed how afraid Peter was of dying, and I'm like, yeah, you're a 15-year-old kid. This is life or death. These are important things. Are they things worth fighting for? Yes, but you need to know that you could get in a situation where people are going to die, and you're going to have to figure out if you're strong enough to continue on, or if your life is going to have to be the one sacrifice to save countless others. And just seeing Peter get into that mindset and just be able to get out of the rubble and go after Toomes was really pretty cool. So, of course, we get to the fallout of everything. We see that Liz and her mother are moving away, and that the decathlon has now put Michelle in charge of the decathlon team, wanting them to call her MJ. And it's like, well, we've heard from other sources that she's not Mary Jane, so I'm wondering why they even made the MJ reference at all. Because I liked her character just being Michelle, just being kind of a new character. Putting the MJ kind of thing on it was just almost poking the bear for no reason, because I'm like, okay, she's cool, and I'm like, okay, I had to wait until they're like, that's not Mary Jane of the Marvel Universe. It's like, you could have just left her as Michelle, and all that would have been avoided. It was just more kind of like you didn't have to do that, but it's just a little quibble. We also see that Tony and Happy were impressed with Peter, and Tony wanted to have him be a full Avenger and showed him a whole new awesome tech suit, but Peter's like, you know what, I don't think I'm ready yet. And it's really kind of cool because it just shows Peter's maturity of understanding he needs to learn a lot more, and actually showing that he's more along the side, I think, of Cap. And I can't wait till we get into more scenes of him actually really interacting with Cap as a teammate rather than on the opposite side, because Tony does inspire people, but Cap was the one that was really an inspiration, and that's also one of the big popularity things with Spider-Man. He is able to inspire people because he acts so selflessly and tries to do the right thing all the time. And not granted that Tony does that, tries to do that as well, but Tony usually is almost always the instigator of his own problems, and not that Spider-Man and Cap don't do the same things time and again, but usually Tony's goes off on such a weird thing, but it's usually Spider-Man on the ground floor trying to help people and trying to be that kind of beacon of hope, and showing that he needs to learn that humility and be that guy and learn that responsibility was really pretty cool without going the like great power, great responsibility route. It was like, alright, cool. And it was weird because Happy and Tony had said like, yeah, you'll have a room over here next to Vision and all that, and they'd already set it up. Peter thought it was a test and was kind of moving, kind of happy with himself, like, yeah, I learned what I needed to learn. Tony had all the people, like, and the reporters ready. It's like, oh, okay. And of course, he doesn't have his regular tech suit, so it was kind of like, okay. So Happy's like, well, what do we do? And Tony's like, well, we can get engaged. He's like, I got the engagement ring. I've been holding on to it since 2008, which was funny. It's like, oh, all right. And then and Pepper's like, no, 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 no. She's like, goes out to like kind of deal with them. And of course, Happy flicks the ring to Tony. He's like, eh. So he goes in. It's like, okay, cool. And it's like, all right, we'll see how this goes. And then we get to the end of the movie. Tony has left the original suit to Peter. And it's like, all right, he's getting it on and everything. And we see that he did not leave the door up. He left the door open. He did not close it. And then he's like pretty much putting on the mask, and Aunt May comes up and like, what the? And it's like, alright, that's pretty cool. We'll have to see how this goes and how Aunt May deals with it. And then we get into the mid-credit scenes, and we see that Matt Garn is trying to recruit Toomes to go after Spider-Man. He's like, oh, I thought I heard that you know who Spider-Man is. Nope. And I'm like, that's cool that Toomes would be like, okay, this kid screwed with my livelihood, but he saved my life even when I pretty much was attempting to kill myself through sheer stupidity of not seeing what was going on behind my back with my tech. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And it's like, ooh, this is the beginnings of like the Sinister Six, because he's like, there's other people outside that want to get that Spider-Man. It's like, ooh, and then he just walks on off. It's like, okay, I'll have to see how that goes. And then, of course, we get a pretty cool end credit scene with a Captain America PSA, like, talking about patience and all that kind of fourth wall break. It's like, okay, I was more like, I thought they were going to lead into the next one or whatnot, or lead into another Marvel movie, but I'm like, okay, I got that. We'd already gotten that set up with the mid-credit scenes, and this was more kind of like a little fun thing. I'm like, I was kind of ticked, but not really. I'm like, okay, we got more Chris Evans as Captain America. I'm okay. So overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I think they did a good job of interweaving the high school life with the superhero life and not making them seem too opposed or like at opposites, like messing with tone. Having a good thing with the superhero heroism and optimism with kind of like a John Hughes high school movie, even making references to like Ferris Bueller's Day Off and of course kind of Breakfast Club with the detention stuff. So overall, I really like this, and I really hope they can keep this up with the next couple Spider-Man movies and what they've got in store with the Marvel Universe. So those are my opinions on the movie. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.